What happens when a Lakota warrior must choose between his blood brother and the sacred wolf that saved his life? I stood in the center of our village circle that freezing December morning in 1847, with my brother's knife at my throat, and the entire tribe demanding I make a choice that would define me forever. My brother, Running Elk, the pride of our people, the greatest hunter in 3 territories, believed I had betrayed him in the worst way possible. But what nobody knew was that the white wolf sleeping in my teepee wasn't just any wolf. It was the spirit guardian that had spoken to me in a vision, and the decision I was about to make would tear our family apart, challenge our oldest laws, and prove that sometimes the spirits demand more courage than any battle. Before I tell you what happened in that circle, less than 5% of you watching this will share it. If you believe in honoring the sacred bond between humans and nature, if you understand that some choices break us but make us whole, keep listening. This story will challenge everything you think you know about loyalty, family and destiny. My name is Calls the Thunder, and I am 23 winters old. I am Lakota, born under the winter moon in the year the white man calls 1824. Our band travels the Great Plains between the Black Hills and the Powder River, following the buffalo, living as our ancestors have lived for generations beyond counting. But this story begins 3 moons ago, when I went into the wilderness seeking my vision. Every young warrior must seek his vision. You fast for 4 days and 4 nights on a sacred hilltop, no food, no water, no shelter, waiting for the spirits to show you who you will become. My father had seen the eagle, my brother had seen the bear, both powerful visions, both brought them great honor. I climbed the sacred hilltop as the autumn leaves turned golden. For 3 days nothing came. I grew weak, my lips cracked from thirst, my stomach eating itself. Other young men had visions on the first night. I began to fear the spirits had rejected me. Then, on the 4th night, as the moon rose full and white, I heard it, a howl that made my blood turn to ice water. Not the howl of a normal wolf. This was deeper, older, like the voice of the earth itself. I looked up, and there, standing on the ridge above me, was the largest wolf I had ever seen. Its fur was pure white, glowing in the moonlight like fresh snow. Its eyes were not yellow like normal wolves, but blue, the color of the sky at dawn. The wolf spoke to me, not with words, but I heard it in my mind, clear as my mother's voice. Calls the thunder, it said. You will walk between 2 worlds. You will be called a traitor by your own people. You will be hated by those you love, but you will save what must be saved, even when no one understands why. I didn't understand the vision. When I returned to camp weak and trembling, I told our shaman, Gray Fox. He studied me with those ancient eyes that had seen 70 winters. The white wolf is the rarest vision, he said quietly. It comes to those who must make impossible choices. Be careful, young one, your path will be lonely. I tried to forget the vision. I threw myself into being a good warrior, a good son, a good brother. Running Elk and I hunted together every day. He was everything I wanted to be. Strong, confident, respected. When he brought down 3 elk in one hunt, the entire village celebrated. When I brought down 2, people barely noticed. I didn't mind. He was my brother. His glory was my glory. But then came the morning that changed everything. We were hunting in the deep forest, tracking a wounded buffalo. The snow was thick, the air bitter cold. Running Elk was ahead of me, following the blood trail. I heard him shout, not in triumph, but in terror. I ran through the trees and found him surrounded by 4 gray wolves, their teeth bared, backing him toward a cliff edge. I had 3 arrows, 4 wolves. I would have to choose which one to miss. But before I could draw my bow, something crashed through the bushes beside me. The white wolf, the one from my vision. It was real. It launched itself at the gray wolves with a ferocity I had never seen. It fought like a demon, like a spirit made flesh. The gray wolves broke and ran, disappearing into the forest. Running Elk stood there, shaking, staring at the white wolf. The wolf was bleeding from several bites, its white fur stained red. It looked at me with those blue eyes, and I heard its voice in my mind again. Now you are bound to me. Then it collapsed. Kill it. Running Elk said immediately. Kill it. Now while it's weak. I looked at him in shock. It saved your life. It's a wolf, brother. A predator. Today it saved me. Tomorrow it might kill one of our children. This is a gift. A white wolf pelt is worth more than 10 horses. We'll be heroes. Kill it. I looked down at the wolf. Its blue eyes were watching me, waiting, and I heard the words from my vision. You will be called a traitor by your own people. No, I said. I won't kill it. Running Elk's face darkened. What did you say? This wolf saved your life. I won't repay that debt with death. It would be dishonorable. Dishonorable. My brother's voice rose. I am telling you, as the elder brother, as the lead hunter, kill this animal. No. That single word hung between us like a knife. Running Elk stared at me as if he didn't recognize me. Then he turned and walked away, his footsteps heavy in the snow. I couldn't leave the wolf to die. I made a travois from branches and pulled it back to camp. 3 hours of exhausting work through deep snow. When I arrived, dragging this massive white wolf behind me, the entire village came out to stare. He's lost his mind, someone whispered. The vision quest broke him, another said. But Gray Fox, the shaman, looked at the wolf and then at me, and he nodded slowly. Put it in your teepee, he said. Tend its wounds. This is sacred business. For 2 weeks I cared for that wolf. I brought it water, fed it meat from my own meals, cleaned its wounds with herbs Gray Fox gave me. My friends stopped visiting. People whispered when I walked by. Running Elk wouldn't speak to me at all. But the wolf healed. And during those 2 weeks something strange happened. The wolf never tried to hurt me. It watched me with those intelligent blue eyes. And sometimes I swear it understood every word I said. At night when the wind howled and the snow piled high, the wolf would move closer to my fire, and I would feel less alone. Then came the incident that brought us to that terrible morning. Running Elk had been courting Laughing Water, the most beautiful girl in our village, daughter of our chief. Everyone knew they would marry in the spring. But 3 days ago, Laughing Water came to my teepee. She stood in the doorway, her eyes red from crying. Your wolf, she said quietly. May I see it? I was surprised but nodded. She came inside and sat near the white wolf, which was now fully healed but still stayed in my teepee by choice. She reached out slowly, and the wolf allowed her to touch its fur. My father wants me to marry Running Elk, she said. But Running Elk frightens me. When he drinks the trader's whiskey, he becomes cruel. Last week he struck his horse so hard it bled. Yesterday he kicked a dog that barked at him. Everyone pretends not to see because he is a great hunter. But I see, and I'm afraid. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Your wolf could have killed you at any time, but it stays because you showed it kindness. Running Elk would have killed it for a pelt. That tells me everything about who you both are. Before I could respond, the teepee flap tore open. Running Elk stood there, his face twisted with rage. He had followed her. He had heard everything. You, he roared at me. You poisoned her mind against me. You and this cursed animal. Brother, I didn't. Don't call me brother. His hand went to his knife. You chose a wolf over me. You bring shame to our family. You steal the woman I will marry. This ends now. He lunged into the teepee, knife drawn, heading straight for the wolf. The wolf could have torn his throat out. I saw its muscles tense, but it didn't move. It looked at me, waiting for me to choose. And in that split second, I understood my vision. This was the moment. This was the impossible choice. I stepped between my brother and the wolf. His knife stopped an inch from my chest. Move, he hissed. No, I will go through you to get to that animal. Then you'll have to kill me first, because I won't let you murder something sacred just because you're angry. Running Elk's eyes widened. The knife trembled in his hand. Behind him, Laughing Water was sobbing. Outside I could hear people gathering, drawn by the shouting. You would die for a wolf? He whispered. I would die to honor the vision the spirits gave me. I would die to protect something that saved your life, even though you wanted to kill it. Yes, brother, I would die for this. Running Elk pulled back his knife and stormed out of the teepee. Within an hour, he had called a council. He demanded I be brought before the tribe to answer for my betrayal. Now guys, before I tell you what happened in that council circle, I need you to understand something. In my culture, family loyalty is everything. Brotherhood is sacred. When I chose to protect that wolf over obeying my brother, I broke one of our deepest laws. Comment below if you've ever had to choose between what's right and what your family demanded. Have you ever stood alone against people you love? Share your story, because this is about more than me and a wolf. This is about finding the courage to follow your truth even when everyone you love tells you you're wrong. That December morning, the entire village gathered in the sacred circle. Our chief, Tall Bear, sat in his ceremonial robes. The elders flanked him. My father stood among them, his face like stone. My mother watched from the crowd, tears already falling. Running Elk stood in the center of the circle and told his version of events. He said I had betrayed him, kept a dangerous predator in camp, poisoned Laughing Water's mind against him, and dishonored our family. With each accusation, the crowd murmured agreement. Then it was my turn to speak. I walked into the center of the circle. The white wolf, which had followed me from my teepee, walked beside me. People gasped. Some reached for their weapons. The wolf stays, I said firmly, because everything I have to say depends on you seeing what this wolf is. Chief Tall Bear nodded slowly. Speak, calls the thunder. I told them everything. The vision, the rescue, the 2 weeks of healing. I told them how the wolf could have killed me 100 times, but chose trust instead. I told them what Laughing Water had said about Running Elk's cruelty, though saying it felt like swallowing knives. This wolf is not my pet, I said. It is not my slave. It chooses to stay because I treated it with honor. Our people say we must live in balance with all creatures. We thank the buffalo when we hunt it. We apologize to the tree when we cut it. We show respect to all living things. But my brother wanted to kill this wolf for a pelt, for glory, even after it saved his life. That is not balance. That is greed. Running Elk exploded. You dare lecture us about honor? You who hides behind an animal. You who steals another man's woman. I didn't steal anyone, I shot back. Laughing Water has her own mind, and maybe if you showed her the same respect you demand from everyone else, she wouldn't fear you. The crowd erupted. Half were shouting at me, half were shouting at Running Elk. Chief Tall Bear raised his hand for silence. This council must decide, he said heavily. Calls the Thunder has broken sacred customs by keeping a wolf among us, but he claims spiritual guidance. Running Elk demands justice for his brother's betrayal. The question before us is this: does a vision excuse breaking our laws? Gray Fox, the old shaman, stood up. Everyone fell silent. When Gray Fox spoke, even chiefs listened. I have lived 70 winters, he said, his voice carrying across the circle. I have seen many visions and guided many young warriors. The white wolf is the rarest vision, and it comes with the heaviest burden. He looked directly at me. Calls the Thunder was told he would be hated by those he loves, that he would be called a traitor, that he would save what must be saved. This is that moment. He turned to the crowd. Our people are changing. The buffalo grow fewer. The white men come with their wagons and their diseases and their promises. We stand at the edge of a great cliff, and we don't know if we should jump or turn back. This young warrior was given a vision about walking between two worlds, about making choices no one understands, about protecting the sacred even when it costs him everything. Gray Fox walked over to the white wolf. The wolf looked up at him with those blue eyes. The shaman placed his hand on the wolf's head. This is not just a wolf, he said quietly. This is a test of whether we can still see the sacred when it comes in unexpected forms. A test of whether we value honor or tradition more. A test of whether we can change or if we will die still clinging to the old ways that no longer serve us. He looked at Running Elk. Your brother saved your life. This wolf saved your life. And your response to both was to demand their death. What does that say about you? Running Elk's face went pale, then red with rage. He has bewitched you, old man. You and this whole council. I am the greatest hunter in 3 territories. I have brought more meat to this tribe than any man alive. And you take his side? I take the side of truth, Gray Fox said calmly. You are a great hunter, Running Elk. But you are not a great man. Not yet. Greatness is not measured in elk killed or enemies defeated. It is measured in how you treat those who cannot defend themselves. Your horse, that dog, this wolf, your future wife, your brother. You have failed every one of these tests. The silence that followed was absolute. Chief Tall Bear stood up. As Laughing Water's father, he had his own interest in this outcome. Everyone waited to see which way he would rule. "Cause the thunder," the chief said, and my heart stopped. "You have broken our customs. You have defied your elder brother. You have brought division to this tribe. For these things there must be consequences." I bowed my head, waiting for exile or worse. However, the chief continued, "I have watched this wolf for 3 days now. It has not threatened anyone. It has not stolen food. It sits quietly and harms no one. And I have watched you care for it with a dedication I wish more of our young men showed to their duties." He paused, and I could feel the entire tribe holding its breath. More importantly, my daughter came to me last night. She told me she does not wish to marry Running Elk. She told me she fears him. And when the woman you love fears you, you have already lost something no hunt can replace. Running Elk started to protest, but Chief Tall Bear held up his hand. "My decision is this. Cause the thunder, you may keep the wolf. It will be watched, and if it harms anyone you will both be exiled." But Gray Fox is right. We must learn to see the sacred in new forms, or we will not survive what is coming. Relief flooded through me, but the chief wasn't finished. "Running Elk, you will not marry my daughter. You will spend the next moon serving as a helper to Gray Fox, learning humility. You will care for the elderly, chop wood for widows, and repair teepees for those who cannot do it themselves. And you will do it without complaint. If you refuse, you may leave this tribe and seek your fortune elsewhere." My brother stood there trembling with rage and humiliation. For a moment I thought he would choose to leave, but then slowly he nodded. "As you command, Chief Tall Bear." The council ended. The crowd dispersed. I stood in the center of that circle with the white wolf beside me, and I felt more alone than I had on that vision hill. My father walked past without looking at me. My mother hugged me quickly, whispering, "You did right," before hurrying away. Friends I had known my whole life avoided my eyes. Only Laughing Water approached. She knelt beside the wolf and scratched behind its ears. The wolf's tail wagged slightly. "Thank you," she said softly, "for being brave enough to tell the truth." "I may have lost my brother forever," I said. "Maybe," she agreed. "Or maybe you gave him the only chance he has to become someone worth knowing." She stood and walked away, leaving me alone with the white wolf. I sat down in the snow, suddenly exhausted. The wolf lay down beside me, its warm body pressed against mine. Was it worth it? I asked out loud. Was this what the spirits wanted? The wolf looked at me with those blue eyes, and I heard its voice in my mind one final time. "You chose honor over comfort, truth over tradition, love over fear. Yes, Thunder Caller, it was worth it." Now guys, here's what happened in the months that followed. Running Elk served his month of humility. I watched him chop wood for old One-Eye Woman, who had no sons. I saw him repair the teepee of Bent Knife's widow. I noticed him sitting with Gray Fox, listening to stories he had never had patience for before. He still wouldn't speak to me, but I saw him changing. The white wolf, which I named Spirit Walker, became part of our camp. Children who had been afraid at first began to approach it carefully. It was gentle with them, patient, like it understood they needed to learn trust. Hunters who had mocked me began to notice that when I went hunting with Spirit Walker, we never came back empty-handed. The wolf could track better than any man, could sense danger before we walked into it. 3 months after the council, I was hunting alone when I heard screams from the direction of camp. I ran back with Spirit Walker at my side. A grizzly bear had wandered into the village, attracted by meat we were drying. It had cornered a group of children, including Running Elk's young cousin, Little Crow. Men were grabbing weapons, but they were too far away. The bear was about to charge. Spirit Walker didn't hesitate. It launched itself at that grizzly, a white blur in the afternoon sun. The wolf was a quarter of the bear's size, but it fought with supernatural fury, drawing the bear's attention away from the children. I ran in with my spear, and together, man and wolf, we drove the bear back into the forest. When it was over, I stood there panting, bleeding from where the bear had struck me. Little Crow was crying but alive, and Running Elk was standing there, staring at the white wolf who had just saved his cousin's life. He walked over slowly. Spirit Walker watched him, wary. Running Elk knelt in the mud and snow. And then my proud brother, the greatest hunter in 3 territories, did something I never expected. He bowed his head to the wolf. I was wrong, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I was wrong about you. I was wrong about my brother. I was wrong about what makes a man great. He looked up at me, tears in his eyes. Brother, can you forgive me? I pulled him to his feet and hugged him hard. There's nothing to forgive. You were walking the path you knew. Now you're walking a new one. That's all any of us can do. That night we had a feast. Running Elk sat beside me, and for the first time in months we talked like brothers again. He told me about what he'd learned serving Gray Fox, about humility, about seeing people he'd walked past his whole life without really noticing, about understanding that strength without compassion is just violence waiting to happen. The white men are coming, he said quietly. Gray Fox says in 10 years, maybe 20, our world will be completely changed. We'll need leaders who can walk between the old ways and the new. Leaders who can make impossible choices. Leaders like you, little brother. I shook my head. I'm no leader. I'm just a man who listened to his vision. That's exactly what a leader is, Running Elk said. Guys, I'm 43 years old now as I tell you this story. 20 years have passed since that morning in the council circle. The world Gray Fox predicted has come. The buffalo are nearly gone. Our people live on the white man's reservation. The old ways are dying. But Spirit Walker stayed with me until the day it died, 12 winters after I found it. And the lessons it taught me about honor, about respecting all living things, about having the courage to stand alone when necessary. Those lessons helped me lead our people through the hardest times we've ever faced. Running Elk became a leader too, a voice of wisdom in the council. He married a woman who loved him, and he treated her with the respect he'd learned. He told his children the story of the white wolf and the brother who chose honor over obedience. In Laughing Water, she became a healer, teaching the old medicine ways to young women so they wouldn't be forgotten. She never married, said she preferred to belong to herself and to the people. We remained friends until the day she crossed to the spirit world. The white wolf taught me this. The spirits don't give us visions to make our lives easier. They give us visions to make us who we need to become. Sometimes that means standing alone. Sometimes it means being called a traitor by everyone you love. Sometimes it means choosing a wolf over your brother. But if you have the courage to follow your vision, even when it breaks your heart, even when it costs you everything, that's when you discover who you really are. That's when you become the person the spirits knew you could be. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it if you've ever had to stand alone for what you believed in. Share it if you understand that real strength is protecting the vulnerable, not dominating them. Share it if you believe that sometimes the hardest choice is the right choice. And remember the words of my people. Walk in balance with all living things. Honor the sacred wherever you find it. And have the courage to follow your vision, even when the path is lonely. That is my story. That is the day I chose the wolf over my brother. And I would make the same choice again, because it saved us both. Spirit Walker, wherever your spirit runs now, thank you for the gift of that impossible choice. It made me who I was meant to be. Comment below and tell me, have you ever had to choose between loyalty and truth, between family and your principles, between comfort and courage? Your story matters. Share it.